for joining us this afternoon. Again, today's presentation is about Autodesk Vehicle Tracking, and what I really want to do is kind of give a quick overview in reference to what Autodesk Vehicle Tracking is, and then just kind of do a hands-on demonstration in terms of real-world scenarios that you guys probably run into on a typical basis. So, again, my name is Ken Driscoll. I'm a civil application engineer for Applied Software. And then today's reference in terms of topic is in reference to Autodesk Vehicle Tracking. So one of the things we want to look at, because there's a lot of products out there on the market, specifically AutoTurn. And there's a variety of things that AutoTurn does. I just want to talk about Autodesk Vehicle Tracking, then I'll make reference to AutoTurn because maybe you have it, maybe you don't. But kind of give you some direction in terms of the differences between the two. So with Autodesk Vehicle Tracking, accurately predict movements of steer vehicles, optimize road and campus geometrics, and then perform real-time analysis. So you can see, again, accurately predicting movements of steer vehicles, and then optimizing road geometrics and campus geometrics, and then performing real-time analysis. We'll take a look at some of those things. So if we look at Autodesk Vehicle Tracking in comparison to AutoTurn, we look at tighter integration into AutoCAD and Civil 3D editing, Civil 3D modeling, vehicle intelligence, parking geometry, roundabouts. Vehicle paths can be animated at any time without needing additional software. Also, in terms of more data and design content, overall, just shipped straight out of the box, over 1,800 vehicles. We have the ability to create custom vehicles. Also, visibility, stopping, sight distance, and design limits within simulations. We also, based upon clients, can use the design check tool for standards in terms of compliance and constraints and warnings based upon AASHTO standards. And as we move on, again, tighter integration, stored within the actual Civil 3D drawing, which allows you to be able to pass along back and forth and share that data. Editing instead of deleting, straight Civil 3D surfaces, and also modeling with corridors. Again, over 1,800 vehicles shipped straight out of the box. Worldwide design for vehicles, regional design based upon AASHTO standards, and state realistic manufacturer vehicles, multiple industries, also additional vehicles under subscription. And then the ability to model some of these complex steering axles and axles. Editing vehicles that you provide, and then creating custom vehicles. And then we'll look at the drive-through and being able to animate those type of things in reference to the vehicles. And specifically that we're in the States, we want to be able to use US units opposed to metric. So we'll look at that also. So in terms of integration with planning and design, vehicle tracking runs along the AutoCAD platform. So in terms of suites, we're talking Infrastructure Design Suite Premium, Infrastructure, Autodesk Building Design Suite. In terms of the platform for AutoCAD, AutoCAD Architecture, AutoCAD Civil 3D, AutoCAD Map 3D, and then AutoCAD Utility Design. So again, it works along the AutoCAD platform in reference to the Autodesk products. So wherever steer vehicle wheels turn, so we're talking transportation, cars, buses, heavy haulers, emergency vehicles, airplanes, helicopters, also autonomous guided vehicles. If we're looking at architecture, private, public cars, disabled vehicles, delivery trucks, wheelchairs, school buses, hospital beds, fire appliances, construction equipment. If we're talking in reference to plant and manufacturing, now we're talking forklifts, we're talking trolleys, we're talking carts, trains, abnormal vehicles with abnormal loads, large loads, and delivery trucks. So the first thing that we talk about, accurately predicting movements of steer vehicles. So now we take a look at because one of the first things we say is, why don't we just compare or keep AutoTurn? So AutoTurn, you have to have 3 different modules for swap path analysis, and then you have PartCAD, and then you have ability to do a few other things in reference to design checks. Everything that I'm going to show you is straight out of the box with Autodesk Vehicle Tracking. So ability to access and predict movements accurately of hundreds of still vehicles. Ability to create a profile. We'll also look at the vehicle library. And then just really a steering movements of a vehicle. And then in reference to performance design checks, we want to be able to check conventional steering from lock to lock, from left and right side. Overall length, we can use a profile. User definable rules based upon steering. Steering angles that exceed or don't exceed a specific percentage. And then also, I have the ability to animate my analysis. So I want to be able to experience visually what that looks like, because putting it on a 2D set of plans is one thing. Being able to see if it really works is another. Then really being able to optimize road and campus geometrics. So I can quickly generate alternatives in reference to my parking, quickly generate alternatives in reference to my design for my roundabouts. So just some of the things, again, that you get straight out of the box with Autodesk Vehicle Tracking. Again, animation, being able to count parking bays, a percentage of handicaps. You can do all that dynamically. And then that data goes straight into Civil 3D or AutoCAD. And we'll take a look at some of those things also. Then preliminary roundabout layout. We will see that what we can create with vehicle tracking in terms of a roundabout or a cul-de-sac goes directly into Civil 3D to create a corridor model. So again, being able to generate design alternatives, specifically preliminary, that we really will have multiple concepts in terms of what we want to get out. And we'll take a look at that also. And then again, unique integration with Civil 3D. If I use a specific vehicle, it knows it has intelligence in reference to snapping to a corridor model. So we'll take a look at some of those things. And clearly you can see here we can do design checks for ground conflicts. So spend less time performing these conversions from multiple modules. Again, everything comes straight with Autodesk Vehicle Tracking. And then, of course, again, being able to animate, we'll take a look at that. And then performing real-time analysis based upon my radiuses for each leg, miles per hour in terms of my design speeds. So being able to make these design decisions faster and able to perform real-time analysis. Easily considering safety factors, sight distance, sight lines based upon design speeds. We have all that functionality that we can utilize also with Autodesk Vehicle Tracking. So, don't want to PowerPoint you to death with a lot of information in here. Just quickly, just jump to the product. I mean, we'll keep it nice and simple. Clearly, you can see that I'm using AutoCAD Civil 3D 2015, or I could be using just regular AutoCAD. And one of the things I want to be able to get across is we have line work that's in 2D, which is not untypical. One of the things that's critical with Civil 3D is being able to set forth a projection based upon our location. So one of the quick things that we want to take a look at is I do have the ability to go in and set my own standards based upon the specific units that I want to be able to utilize. So right now I'm just using a really trial version in reference to Autodesk Vehicle Tracking. I'm going to show you the things that you're going to be looking at in the same fashion. Okay, so being able, it opens up a little wizard in reference to our drawing units, and if I select it next, I can walk through and change specific parameters in reference to what I wanted to use. Okay, and then remember I talked about it being drawing based, so I can move these things around create a template based upon specific municipalities or specific counties that I can utilize, and then also just being able to create forward and reverse design speeds based upon a turn or spiral criteria based upon a design speed, because we know the design speed affects how tight you can turn a vehicle. So again, real-time animation that we're going to take a look at. And then I'll select next. And then basically we have some defaults for steering angles straight out of the box. If we needed to set those parameters, we could change those at any point in time. And I'll select next. And then we can change the articulation for our models for our vehicles behavior. And then I'll go next. And then clearly here, limit turning for dynamic effects. We're looking at AASHTO standards. And if we pick on that, you can see that it has AASHTO standards based upon specific handbooks. And then you can do custom settings also. Excuse me. And then if we select next, again, we're just walking through the wizard, and then we can select finish. So no big deal. We want the ability to be able to set up our drawing in reference to what we want to utilize. So clearly you can see here, you do have a ribbon that's Autodesk Vehicle Tracking. And if you hold your cursor just over a couple of these icons, it's showing just a quick tooltip. Now the one up here at the top, I want to be able to see what kind of vehicles that are shipped straight out of the box. So it brings up a little dialog box, and it brings up a little diagram. So specifically aircraft, specific countries. If we zoom down, if we went to U.S. design vehicles, you can see we have specific states. And then we also have, if I scroll down a little bit further, statewide AASHTO. So if I went to statewide AASHTO, I can use custom or metric, so U.S. custom based upon vehicles. And there's, again, over 1,800 vehicles that we can utilize. So specifically, if I just wanted to do a city bus, it's going to give me a diagram of a city bus, an overall length, width, body height, minimum body ground clearance, lock-to-lock wheel time, and curb-to-curb turning radius. Then if I wanted to, I could specify to show all, or show just the body, or show basically my chassis for that vehicle, or show a profile. So if we think about it how we used to do it many, many years ago, we used to create a template that we specified in reference to, and I'm going to select that show all. We used to create a template in reference to showing the vehicle path analysis. And we'd scale that up based upon our drawings. All that's based within this program. And if you wanted to, just to kind of see in terms of the analysis, we could check our steering radius. So see how my steering wheels. Or we can change the actual vehicle. So again, just being able to have that flexibility. And then if we wanted to do just a diagram of a profile of that vehicle. So you do have that flexibility in reference to every vehicle in Autodesk Vehicle Tracking. So just as a quick example, again, we can modify, and you also have a search engine. So let's just say something like garbage. And I do a quick search, then it brings up a garbage vehicle for U.S. designs, rear load. So something as simple as that. And we'll close this down. So something as simple as that is a garbage truck. I can go in here and specify specific things that I want to be able to. So let's say aircraft. I'll do a search. Then it's going to bring up specific aircraft, commercial, military, Airbuses. Again, 1,800 vehicles that you can utilize. So I'm just going to go ahead and close that. So that our first thing that I want to do is just kind of give you the overall aspect in terms of a vehicle auto arc or swap path. So if I pick AutoDrive, just right here, it's going to bring up this dialog box again, and I'm just going to go down and pick a specific vehicle. So if I go to search, I'm going to go down and just pick a specific passenger bus. And I'm going to select proceed, and it's going to ask me if I want it to have a default. I don't want that to have a default. And then it says auto track and then specific path. Now, when I draw out the specific path, it goes on specific layers. And then it's prompting me for auto check against scale, my window size, and those type of things, driving convention, and then angles. And if I select OK, then it brings up just a quick reference it to my scale, always drawing things 1:1, and then it puts a little vehicle here. So if I pick on it, I have the ability to change the direction of my vehicle, and if I just pick it right there, it's going to give me a second chance in reference to the vehicle that I'm using. And if I want to change my turn radius or I want to change my vehicle location, you can play with those as those come. I'm not going to go through all of those, but some of those things we did see on the view that I looked at in the vehicle library. So I'll select proceed. So it gives me a quick tool in reference to my vehicle. So this is just straightforward, and the percentage sign that you see is basically from wheel to wheel lock in terms of my percentage. So if I pick that, it shows me a path in reference to my vehicle. Okay, so I'm just kind of showing something really quick. And then you can see where you got clearance offset, minimum radius. I can show those settings if I wanted to. Okay, I can go in and change my design speeds, my offset, my limit for it, my turn rate. I can show those. Okay, and if I wanted to come back, it puts a little red box there, and it takes me back. So again, depending on what you want to select. So just a really quick overview in terms of my arc width for my drive path. So if I hover above it, it's going to say vehicle tracking path. It's on layer ATR01. So it puts it on a specific layer, and if I pick on it, it puts pluses in here. So if I pick on the plus, I can move around my actual path. So it gives me grip editing, and then I can pick on my steering. So it gives me, and if it doesn't make the steering based upon the standards, it puts the red line in there. So as soon as I get back, it shows me my path that I can drive through. As soon as I go outside of it, it lets me know that that will not work in reference to that vehicle. Okay? So again, just kind of giving you a basis. And if I wanted to, I pick on it, and I just say AutoDrive again, and I can continue from that point if I wanted to. Okay? So pretty straightforward. And if I didn't want this, it's just an AutoCAD object. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so now let's look at a real-world scenario in reference to driving up this lane, making this turn, and then driving through, and then backing into this dock. Okay, so we'll just take a look at that in a second. And if we go to my Home tab, there's specific layers here. No big deal. If I bring up my layer box, I can pick on specific objects. Just, again, it runs right on top of AutoCAD. When I screen down, just right on top of AutoCAD. So pretty straightforward. Okay? So everything that I'm doing right now is straight out of the box with Autodesk Vehicle Tracking. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go to Autodesk Vehicle Tracking ribbon, and I'm going to select a specific vehicle. And this vehicle that we're going to select, we are going to select from, we're going to scroll up, and we'll look at this single unit delivery truck. Something pretty straightforward. And I'm going to select proceed. And again, same thing in reference to clearance and what we want to be able to display. Same thing. I'll select proceed. I'm not going to make that my default vehicle. Then I'm just going to put the vehicle right here. Same thing that I just did. in reference to my turning radiuses, I'll just pick right there. I'm going to do this in 2 ways to give you an idea, and then I'm just going to kind of drive through here. I'm going to pick that point, and the closer that I get, the more tighter and shorter picks that I want to start utilizing now. And we might have a little overturn there on the sidewalk. Let me just zoom out here and move my mouse just a little bit this way and start here, change my radius here, and we'll pick here. Then we'll start to make that turn for my vehicle. Then I'll straighten it out here, and then we'll just want to go back. And just with a few picks and a click, we can get to that point. Okay, so pretty straightforward. I talked about we being able to move around the actual vehicle. So I hit escape. So you do have that flexibility also. You see it's coming along the actual curve here. What's critical is now to see how that vehicle actually interacts with this data. So up here at the top, something real quick. We just want to be able to animate it. And I'm going to select play, and I'm going to move the vehicle through here. And then I want to see that in 3D. So I'm just going to pick on it real quick. And then I have the ability to view that at any point based upon its perspective of that vehicle. Okay? So even with my driving windows, I have the ability to look at it from the rear, check the path, my fixed camera position. So I'm going to run that again. I can look at it from the driver's perspective, from the rear side, the back side, from the front, in reference to that vehicle driving through that lot. Okay? So pretty straightforward. I can set up views that I can print out. I can create AVIs. Even if I go on my advanced tab, I can do global unit where I can add in multiple vehicles. So I have a lot of flexibility. I can save this viewport. I'm not going to save that. So pretty straightforward. I'm just going to erase this. Like I said, it's just an AutoCAD object, right? Just an AutoCAD object. Now let's just take a look here. I'm going to select my AutoDrive. The same vehicle is going to be fine. I'm not going to make it a default. I'm going to drive right through here. I'm going to pick on this point. I'm going to select proceed. I'm going to pick that point. I'm going to just move this over here just a little bit. I'm going to come in here, just pick here. So something pretty straightforward. Whether it can make that turn. So pretty straightforward, right? Okay. Again, the ability to animate this. As I look at my vehicle driving up the street. So we'll speed that up just a little bit. So really being able to realize that that vehicle actually not turning over that center line and being able to drive straight through. From the south part of that track all the way to the northeast. So I'm not going to save that view. And I'll just come right in. Okay, so again, pretty straightforward. One of the other things that I want to be able to do, just something real simple. If I come back here, I am going to select my AutoDrive. I'm going to select proceed. Now just with a few picks and a click, I'm going to make it through this site. So again, one, I'm going to proceed. I'm going to pick my next point here. I'm going to pick this point here. It gives you the ability to select alignment. And alignment can be used just as a regular line. So I'll pick on it, and it puts that actually through and utilizes that line. And if I pick my other alignment here, I'll use the sidewalk. It makes that turn. If I come back, and I'll pick another alignment, and I'll use that dock wall. So I'll come straight back. So just with a few clicks. It also gives me the ability to drive based upon a bearing if I wanted to. So I'll go ahead and animate, just so we can quickly look at that. We'll look at it in 3D, and I'll speed it up a little bit, just so we can see that drive through. Pretty straightforward. So just a few picks and a click, we can analyze that swap width and arc. Okay. So again, it works the same with any vehicle that I utilize. So if I come up and I select aircraft, we're going to use an Airbus. How about an Airbus? We'll look at an Airbus again, giving me my profile. I'm going to select proceed. I'm not going to make it the default. Here's my Airbus. So same process, select proceed. Same thing they use as airports. Vehicle swap path. Okay. I wanted to animate it. Same process. As it zooms in. So I can have that visually at any point in height as I want. Again, looking at different perspectives. I can speed that up. I'll come back down by the site. So same process with an Airbus. Okay. Now as I move on here, so again, that's just one of the pieces of the pie in reference to Autodesk Vehicle Tracking. Also, because a lot of users make reference to AutoTrive, we also have the ability for parking lots. So something pretty straightforward. I'm going to create a new row. I have the ability to select my bay alignments and my bay details. I can do both left or right side only, or I can skip and start for my end islands. I don't have to have those if I don't want those. So as an example, I'm just going to cut on my old snaps down here, and I'm just going to pick this point. I'm going to pick that point. So something really quick. I mean, the thing that you have to consider is how long does it really take to do parking lot. So I can do double side, left side, right side, or pick my side here. And then we do have the ability to edit. I'm going to pick on that. I'll pick my grip here. I can edit that, string that right along there. I could use my nearest grip for time purposes. I'm just going to quickly do this. So how long does this take to put some parking bays in there? And then more importantly, when I put the parking bays in there, I can do a parallel row. So if I pick this and I hold my cursor, I can do a parallel row. So how long does it take to do parking? And then if I wanted to, I just come in and create a little report. I got 148 stalls in there. And again, you can manipulate and move these around. I'm really doing some quick stuff here. So if I wanted to, I can go ahead and select to edit that parking row or edit parking bay. So if I go edit, and then I can go ahead and select my end islands, select OK. So now I don't have those end islands. Anything that you want to be able to do in terms of manipulating and modifying, you can do this at the ease with this easily accessible interface. If I wanted to edit my parking bays, so if I picked on it, clearly we're not going to have those on top. So if I came through and said erase, just take that right out. Maybe I need some parallel rows in here. So I'm going to say I want to make this row parallel.
Hey Ken, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sorry about the glitch there. Are we back on?
You have to make me the presenter.
Yes. Okay. Have you taken it?
It's not coming up yet.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's make sure I can log back in. Okay.
Okay.
You want me to log back in?
Yes, you might want to do that. Somehow I can't pass the control back to you.
Okay. So let me close that down.
We will be resuming soon once Ken will be logging back on.
Okay. Okay. So there we go. Wonderful. Okay, so sorry for the small glitch. Hopefully everyone can see my screen still. If you can't, please text in a message and I'll wait for you. Okay. Okay, so again, one of the things that we kind of jumped off at was being able to, automate and utilize these in terms of numbering. So again, being able to edit a bay. So I'll look at this row right here. And then for this row right here, I'm going to go ahead and select we want to change our direction for our bay angles. So I'm going to select 60 degrees, select OK. So I can change any of this at any point. I can make it go all the way to the actual curb and gutter. I mean, a lot of flexibility in terms of the bays. So if I pick on that again, in terms of editing a row, I can go right back, pick on it, select what I actually want in terms of 90 degrees, select OK, and we're right back at 90. Also, if I want to edit a specific bay, I can pick on that bay and then say, based upon that bay, I want that to be disabled. And then I can give it a custom width, and I can change, you know, the wheel stops and all that information if I wanted to. Then I'll select copy to, so I'll pick here, 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 and here. Then I'll hit OK. So now, again, being able to generate this information pretty quickly. Now I have 9% in reference to my total for my parking count. Okay? So a lot of flexibility in reference to parking. So I'm just going to jump to another drawing real quick. I'm not going to save that. No big deal. I'm going to jump to another drawing. So let's look at making reference to parking here. So I'm going to say new parking row. And based upon this new parking row, right now, I don't have a pool. I can go a new parking row. I can edit. I can import. I can save a parking file. I talked about that earlier. So right now, I can say open a parking standard file. And here, what I want to be able to do, just real quick, is I am going to create and work with my own parking standard. So here we go. I'll come here. Here's my parking standard. So I'll select open, and it creates a parking standard for me. Just that simple. Then I'll go in and say new row. And then from my new row, you see we have US parking. We'll just select it and select proceed. So something pretty straightforward. It's going to give me a parking standard name, and I'm just going to select OK. So pretty straightforward. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to do double side parking. I'm going to use my OSNAP. I'm going to pick at this point here. I'm going to pick this point here, pick that point there, and pick that point there. And then I'm going to pick on that side. And then I'm going to snap down to nearest. So really quick, again, just parking bays. And you can see it's giving me a parameter in terms of my width for my drive lane. So if I come in, I'm going to say another new row. I'm going to put something pretty straightforward. I'm going to go from this point to that point, hit enter, and pick that side. Then I'm going to create another new row. And then watch what happens as I try to put a row here. So it won't allow me to go within the parameters of that other design. Okay? So again, I'm going to do another new row. Come right here, pick here, and I'm going to come all the way to this point right here. And I can go horizontally or vertically, and I'm going to select none. So I can come straight across and pick that point right there. And then when I hit enter, I could say a row parallel. So let's look at how that works. I'll say a parallel row. See, it doesn't allow me to put that row in there because it knows it has a 26-foot aisle diameter for distance that we want to utilize. So I'll just go right here, pick here, and then pick there, and then we're good. So you can clearly see that it will not allow me to do that. Okay? So one of the things that we also can utilize here, just something real quick. If I came straight down, we can pick on extend. And what vehicle tracking allows me to do is I can create an access road from a line. So I'll pick my line, and I'll say I want a custom width of 26. Then I'll select OK. And it creates those bays for me. And again, it's really about how fast you can really create these concepts without having to offset lines in reference to based upon standards that you need to utilize for this concept. So pretty straightforward. And then last but not least, one of the things we want to look at is the new roundabout. So again, AutoTurn has these multiple modules that you need to purchase. Autodesk Vehicle Tracking, everything comes with this one Autodesk Vehicle Tracking straight out of the box. So I'm going to select New Roundabout. And we have a U.S. junction design for federal highways, 2010. Pretty straightforward. And if I go up to 2010 single lane roundabout, we can do double lanes. If we pick on that and select Proceed, I'm going to select, I didn't want to do that, but that's okay. As a default, then I'm going to select OK. And I'm just going to put my turning center for my roundabout right there. And it's going to prompt me for my first junction. I'll pick it. I'll select OK. And then my second one, I'll pick it, select OK, and then so forth. And then my final leg, select OK. There's my roundabout. How long does it actually take you to do a roundabout in CAD or any other program out there on the market? But what's really beneficial to the user is the ability to pick on and have these update dynamically as I make my change. So I do want to put that at the intersection, right? So I'll right click and select intersection. And I'll just pick that point right there. Everything dynamically updating. Okay, so we have signage, we have island. If I wanted to, I can just come in here, a new splitter island, a new crosswalk. What happens if I put a new crosswalk in here? If I pick on my roundabout, now look at the location of my roundabout and look at my signage. Everything dynamically updating. And this is what you will not get with AutoTurn. So if I pick right there, it adds my signage. I'll right click and hit enter. Everything dynamically updates. It moves my signage away from my crosswalk. Everything dynamically updating. But the beauty of working with, and all, if I go and edit this roundabout, you know, I can edit it based upon each junction if I wanted to. The approach, I can put in specific parameters for each leg. Crosswalk, I can make those changes dynamically updating. It's going to show me in the preview where I'm actually at in reference to the roundabout. But what's critical is the ability to create alignments. When I select apply, down here at the bottom you can say updating linked entities. Well, what linked entities? I don't get that from AutoTurn. Well, the linked entity is the interoperability of intelligence between Autodesk Vehicle Tracking and Civil 3D. How long does it take you to build a Civil 3D corridor? So these are just some of the things we want to be able to see as a value in reference to Autodesk Vehicle Tracking. So I'm just going to change really quick there. Once this catches up, I'll make sure it catches up so you guys can actually see it also. So I'll pick my top and say Southwest Isometric. And hopefully it's not too much lag time. So you can see a Civil 3D roundabout. But what's the beauty of working with the Civil 3D roundabout if it doesn't have any interoperability or communication with Autodesk Vehicle Tracking? So let's just take a look. I'll say AutoDrive, and we've seen this before, right? We'll pick on that. Well, clearly we don't want to drive an airplane through there. So let's go back into our vehicles, and we will select, how about a double drop trailer. I'll select proceed. I'll select no. And then look what happens when I come up to my corridor. All I have to do is put my cursor on it. It knows that that is a forward lane on my corridor. So it just puts my vehicle there, and then if I drive it around, it's really simple. 2 clicks and a click. Now clearly this is going to go over, which is okay. Clearly this is going to go over in reference to my vehicle, but you see that red line that comes in there? We'll do this vehicle, and then I'll just pick right there and hit enter. And then also, I'm on AutoDrive. I'm going to hit escape twice, and then I'm going to put in just a regular vehicle. So passenger car, just so we can get an idea. So look what happens, and I'll show you really close. Here's my 2 lanes. If I pick on this, it automatically snaps and knows. So, and with 2 simple picks and a click, it drives through that swap path. Pretty straightforward. Then we have the ability to animate. I'm going to select play. I'm going to do 1 vehicle at a time. And as soon as this catches up, we want to actually see that vehicle, right? And if I pick the truck and the vehicle, you can see the actual truck and the vehicle crossing. So you can see that swap path analysis for the other vehicle, and you can see the vehicle signage through the roundabout. And we'll just speed that up a little bit. Okay? Pretty straightforward. So I'm going to close that. I'm not going to save that. And it takes me right back to 2D, because 2D is all fine and dandy for those who are familiar with 2D, but what about 3D? You actually want to be able to see the vehicle driving through there, right? So, again, just some of the advantages in terms of working with Autodesk Vehicle Tracking. And we'll jump to the 3D.
And Ken, if I may interrupt for a second, just wanted to remind you of time. There's 8 minutes left, and we have 3 questions so far. Yeah, thank you.
So no questions so far?
No, we have 3
swap path analysis.
We have 3 questions. Okay.
Oh, okay. And what are the questions?
Do you want to address them right now, or we can wait until the end?
Oh no, right now is fine.
Okay.
Because really, the 3 critical pieces of Autodesk Vehicle Tracking, which would be swap path analysis, animation, parking lot layout, and then of course interoperability with Civil 3D, I have covered. So the questions will be fine right now.
Okay, perfect. We have a question from Eric. He's asking, do the AutoCAD objects stay in the file as blocks? Do they need to be purged?
No, they stay in the file as blocks. I mean, now, all it is a 3D, so specifically if you're making reference to signage or anything, it's just a 3D block. It could be moved to multiple drawings or single drawings. It's just an AutoCAD block.
Okay. And Lee has asked, can you display multi-pile vehicles?
What type of vehicles?
He says multi-pile, so...
Multiple vehicles?
I guess it's multiple. Maybe
yeah,
there's a typo.
You can display, displaying multiple vehicles, basically you're putting in a pause and a time per vehicle, right, if you wanted to see them in terms of, if you were thinking traffic analysis and simulation, you could do multiple vehicles.
Okay, and Lee has another question. Is it possible to save the settings for a specific design requirement?
Yes, so you can create that setting in reference to that based upon that file. So as an example, that vehicle tracking file I have it on my desktop. So I have it on my desktop. It's just a vehicle tracking file. So based upon parking standards, which is right here, it's that little file. You can create one and give it to the next person if you wanted to, and they'd have those standards.
Okay, and Lee just further specified, I guess, he was thinking loading dock coordination.
Loading dock coordination?
I think it's in reference to the multiple vehicles.
Yeah, so really in reference to the loading dock, basically it's making reference to 2D line work. So that vehicle, in terms of backing, you're actually backing that vehicle in. Whether the loading dock is elevated or not, that really doesn't make reference. It's just looking at the 2D line work to drive through. Now, if you specifically had the loading dock where the existing ground tied to it, then it would go back and drop in reference to the existing ground. Because if you look on here, if I pick on my corridor, if I went, sorry about that, if I went onto my actual vehicle tracking, if I went and edit that, if I go to my corridor, you actually can see where it's creating profiles, and then within that corridor, you can use the existing and finished road for the corridor. So if I go back to settings, oops, sorry about that, to this settings, when I go into the system settings or the import or export, I can actually tie into the existing ground based upon the existing and finished grade, because that's all it's looking at. Right now I didn't create a finished ground for this corridor, but if I did, all I would do is just go in here and say corridor surfaces and just build the corridor. It's just a corridor in Civil 3D. So that's what it would reference, the existing ground and the finished grade. Any more questions there, Laura?
Okay, and Lee says that was very, very nice. So if there's no more questions at this point, we would like to thank you guys for attending the webinar today, and we hope that you found this webinar informative and enjoyable. We will be having a specific Autodesk vehicle tracking training if you already have the software. So we will be reaching out to you to inquire about whether there's an interest in this class, and Ken will also go into deeper detail into the nuts and bolts of how you can better your workflow with Autodesk Vehicle Tracking.
So one of the other things, Laura, that they also want to keep in mind is Autodesk Vehicle Tracking is being discounted all the way up until May the 31st.
Yep, that's a great point.
I think it's running like at half price.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and if you have any interest, definitely we will be reaching out to you, and or you could shoot us your strategic account manager an email and ask about the particular pricing. And with that, you will be receiving a recorded version of this webinar for your future reference or to share with your colleagues. For a complete schedule of upcoming and future webinars, we once again encourage you to go to livelablearning.com and click on the events page. You will be able to sign up for all the future webinars we have in place. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone again, and we hope to see you next time. Thank you, Ken.
Thanks for your time.